It's a pleasure to start this new session on skills. 2023 here is the year of skills. To achieve the objective of the European Green Deal, it will require relevant skills and competencies to contribute to sustainable growth with high value, innovative and knowledge-based business, and adapt to challenging technological evolution. The panel today will be moderated by Marc Tondrio, Chairman of the Association and CEO of Terranis, and with a panel of Sania Di Melo Xavier, Policy Officer, DG Employ, European Commission, Maria Vittoria Dienzo, Policy Officer, DG DEFIS, European Commission, Lucy van der Tas, Head of Talent Acquisition at the European Space Agency, and Leandros Fotenias, Group Recruitment Manager, HE Space Operation. So, Marc, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Yes, it seems to be. So, thank you very much. And as said by Emmanuel, it's always a challenge to moderate the last panel of the day. And but obviously there are still a lot of attendees there, and which demonstrate the interest of the topic. So, as already said by Guillaume Delabrosse and Giuseppe Ottavianelli, today the issue of the skills of ability was one of the topics which are considered as important for the future of the development of our space sector, and specifically for Earth observation downstream sector. As far as we are concerned in EARSC, we know that access to skill is becoming an issue in the sector, and we are, of course, seeking to understand this and what could be done to solve that. In our annual survey that we do to assess the EU downstream industry status, around 75% of the respondents are finding it difficult to find an hire candidate, which is significant issue. The sector looks for workforce and skills related to data analysis, software development, architecture, in artificial intelligence, and so on, but also some soft skills, as said, like project management, of course, and also commercial skills, and sometimes thematic skills, agronomist, geologist, urbanization, and so on. And that's important also for solving the last mile issue, which have been addressed several times today, in order to be sure that the people, and our people, meaning the people in the industry company, can understand the problematics of the customers and explain how Earth observation can be a solution, one solution at least, to address this problem. So I would thank very much all the panelists today, and I will ask them to introduce themselves relatively shortly, and also to address what in your organization is how the issue of the access to the workforce is seen in your organization. Starting with you, Sonia.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. So my name is Sonia Di Melo Xavier, and I'm a policy officer in DG Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, and I'm working with the Skills Agenda, which is the EU policy framework for skills. And this year, as mentioned, is the European Year of Skills. So amongst other things, I will speak to you about that.
Please.
We just introduced.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Maria Vittoria Dienzeo. I work for the European Commission. I'm a colleague of Sonia. However, I work in the DG in charge of space policy and research, more in particular. And as part of the portfolio of my activities, I also am in charge of the skills, but with more of a sectorial angle.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lucy van der Tas, and I'm the Head of Talent Acquisition at the European Space Agency based in the Netherlands. And me and my team are targeted with marketing ESA as an employer and attracting candidates to apply.
Leandros.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Leandros. I'm the Group Recruitment Manager for H-Space Operations. And in H-Space Operations, we are supporting the biggest players of the European space market, like the European Space Agency, DLR, OHB, EUMETSAT, and others, to find external employees or provide with manpower. And yeah, we're here to discuss the twin transition today, or to give you my aspect on that.
Thank you very much. So let's go now with deeper in the subject. And the first question is to you, Sonia. How does the European Year of Skills, as you addressed, encourage public and private, national and European initiatives put skills center stage? How the policy framework on skills and the Pact of Skills will support sector competitiveness and fuel economic growth? Could you explain further the large-scale partnerships on that?
So I will start with telling you why this year has been declared the European Year of Skills. In fact, President von der Leyen announced in the State of the Union address in September of last year that the 2023, actually starting just last month, and it will end in May 2024, will be a year dedicated to skills. But why is it that we need this now, and why did she declare the European Year of Skills? I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what is the situation in the European labor market and why this was declared. Because in fact, we are living through many challenges. Of course, you probably all heard about the green and digital transitions that are a thread of practically all the work that the Commission is implementing at the moment. But there is also an important demographic change that we are being confronted with in Europe. Also, recently we had the COVID-19 pandemic, and we also had the start of the Russia war of aggression in Ukraine that have had an impact in the EU labor market. In fact, the EU labor market and available workforce are very much shrinking. In 2022, the EURES labor shortages report stated that 38 occupations are classified as being in shortage. And we know that European companies and SMEs in particular are struggling to find workers with the right skills. In fact, 77% of companies said in this survey that they struggled to find companies with the right skills in 2019. This is the latest available data that we have. In addition to this, we know in the Commission that adult learning levels, they remain extremely low, with a participation rate that is around 37% for the EU workforce. And in fact, in the framework of the European Pillar of Social Rights, we have established a target for 2030 to increase this figure to 60% and to get more of the EU workforce to participate in upskilling and reskilling. Critically, also, we know that 90% of jobs at the moment, they require some level of digital skills. In fact, this is an important issue also pertaining to participation in society. We also know that, well, the size of the European working age population, which is the population from 15 to 64, is expected to decrease from the current levels, which are 64%, in 2019. And in fact, they are expected to go as far down as 56% in 2070. So the levels are really going down. So this is why this year has been declared the European Year of Skills. The year will be having 4 specific objectives. The objectives will be to promote increased and more effective and inclusive investment into training and upskilling. And we know that this is needed to ensure that the European workforce reaches its full potential and is able to navigate job-to-jobs transitions. We have as a second objective strengthening skills relevance. We know that this is necessary to listen to companies, in fact, needs, and for us to work closely with all stakeholders that are interacting in the labor markets. It's not only an effort by the Commission, but it's really an effort by all stakeholders together, and strengthening cooperation is in fact one of the main priorities for the year. The third objective of the year will be to match people's aspirations and their skill set with labor market opportunities. And this is in fact referring in particular to all working age adults, and this is irrespective of their employment status. However, there will be really an effort on activating people for the labor market, and in particular women and young people not in employment, education and training. And then lastly, the fourth pillar of the year will be focusing on attracting people from third countries with the skills that are needed in the EU. This dimension of the year includes ensuring that third country nationals can realize their full potential in the European labor market, which means that, in fact, there will be a focus on ensuring the recognition of qualifications to people who are already working in the EU, because as you know, there are very often people living in Europe that are not able to work because they don't have the right recognition of qualification. But it also means that we would be facilitating training and, of course, where needed, looking at third countries to ensure that people with the right skills are able to come to the EU. I work with an initiative that is called the Pact for Skills. In fact, the Pact for Skills is the first flagship initiative of the skills agenda, which, as I mentioned, is the policy framework of the EU for skills. And within the Pact, which was launched 2.5 years ago, we are in DG Employment working together with DG Grow, which, as you know, is the DG responsible for the internal market. And DG Grow is responsible for the EU industrial strategy. And together with colleagues in DG Grow, but for instance, in the case of the sector that you are all working with, so the space sector, we are working together with DG Davis. This means that in DG Employment, we are focusing on providing input on skills, and our colleagues from DigiDefis are working more specifically on the specialized skills needs of the different 14 ecosystems of the EU industrial strategy. So this is a little bit of an overview of the Year of Skills and of the Pact for Skills.
Thank you very much, Sonia, and you've made an excellent transition for the question to Maria Victoria, who is working with DigiDefis, indeed. And could you just elaborate a bit about the situation in the space sector and the actions that DigiDefis wants to undertake to at least try to solve this issue?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Mark, and again, excellent and very comprehensive explanation from Sonia. Indeed, we at DigiDefis follow the skills agenda with more of a sectorial angle, and we have a number of activities ongoing. First, to try and understand what are the specific challenges that the space sector is facing to be able to design the most appropriate set of tools to address future gaps in terms of skill. And for example, we have, of course, we are in constant communication with industrial associations such as ERSC, that you have regular reports also that synthesize and provide an analysis on the skills needs, on the future trends. But we also have our own studies ongoing, and if I can maybe highlight maybe 2 or 3 main challenges that characterize the skills dimension in the space sector, I would say that one of the challenges that the sector is facing is to attract talents. And associated to that is the retention of talents, because it is attracting talents to work in the space sector is already difficult, because space is considered as, first of all, not a conventional sector, vis-a-vis, for example, the oil and gas industry or others. So it is difficult, although we have a number of graduates in the STEM disciplines, the graduates do not sometimes choose to work in the space sector. So again, first challenge is to attract talents. Second challenge, as also echoed by Sonia already, is equal opportunity. We see that the current landscape of space professionals is mainly characterized by a male workforce. And there is not a diversification also in terms of age. So again, this is also another challenge of the futures that the sector is facing. And also further to analysis of the current curricular landscape provided by university, there is sometimes the level of education provided does not entirely address the future needs in terms of skills, thereby creating a mismatch between the skills and competency offer and the needs from the sector. So in this context, what we are trying to work, and thanks to also the initiative, the overall macro initiative, that we can, and the sector can benefit from a number of activities, for example, stemming from the Horizon program, the Research and Innovation program, or the Erasmus program. And one of the precursor instrument was the Blueprint for Sector Skills Cooperation, which gave birth to one of the very successful projects of which also ERSC was part, which was the EO4GEO Blueprint for Sector Skills Cooperation, that precisely regrouped under this initiative, under this project, actors coming from all sectors of society, from academia to training center, industrial association, industry, big and small partners, to come up with basically a long-term action plan and a sectoral skills basically plan to be rolled out in the future by all stakeholders. So what is paramount, I would say, is the collective endeavor by all the actors of society. And again, it's, we benefit also from the Pact for Skills, which is an initiative that tries to regroup all the sectors. And recently, there has been launched dedicated large-scale partnership on space data application and services, precisely to first of all take from building on the results and the outputs of the EO4GEO project to go forward and project and prepare the next generation future professionals with the collective efforts, and again expanding and going beyond specifically the Earth observation sector, because of, for example, from our side now we have one single EU space program with the different components from Copernicus, GNSS, and now we also have a new program on secure connectivity, IRIS². So what is important is that we all together collaborate, and each of us does its own bit to prepare the most appropriate set of tools in line with what are the needs of the industry on the one side, on the one hand, and on the institution on the other hand, to be able to already prepare the next generation of skilled professionals with a vision of 15 to 20 years. I'll stop here.
Yeah, good challenge. And
Yes.
it's still a long way. Thank you very much. And Lucy, you are indeed part of ESA, and indeed you are an operational agency, and we are talking about the difficulties faced by industry to find and recruit the right skills. I can assume that ESA is also in the same position, because there is a big announcement for a certain level of recruitment, including in 2023, thanks to the big effort achieved through the ministerial. So what are the biggest recruitment challenges that ESA is currently facing now, and both in general and more specifically for Earth observation?
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, we are facing challenges as anybody else, although I would have to say that space has one aspect which I think a lot of other sectors don't have, and is that it is inspirational. You just have to look at the results of our 2021-2022 astronaut selection, where we had way more candidates than we had expected. We had 23,000 candidates, and 24% of them were women, and I found those extremely encouraging statistics. So we have something going for us, but there's a lot of work to be done, and I've heard what my colleagues here have said today, and they've highlighted some issues. So what challenges is ESA facing today? So we have been facing a retirement wave. It started in 2020, and in the period 2020 to 2030, 44% of the ESA workforce will retire. And that includes me, by the way. And added to that challenge, that we were given the additional 200 positions at the ministerial conference last November. So to give you an idea, 2023, 2024 is the peak of the retirement wave. Last year we recruited 262 people, and we expect with the additional 200 to be looking at 400. We will aiming to recruit the highest number of people that we've ever recruited before. And we are doing it relatively successfully. I say relatively because we have a number of challenges. So one of the challenges we have is being an intergovernmental organization. We are required to recruit nationals of one of our member states or associate members. We also require all people applying for a professional position to have a minimum of a master. And we also have a role to play in diversity. Our convention, which was established at the time of the creation of ESA in 1975 and is ratified in Parliament by each member state when it joins ESA, it states that we are required to ensure an adequate distribution of all our member states across the workforce. So these are all aspects that we have to take into consideration. Challenges, you could say also solutions. It brings a high degree of diversity into the organization. And then our Director General, when he became Director General in 2020, he wrote a roadmap for ESA called Agenda 2025. And there is an aspect in there about the workforce, and we have a target of female recruitment of 40% by 2025. We did once hit that target, I'm very happy to say. The astronaut selection increase of 24% of women applications was also very positive, but I'm not sure we're going to make this 40% target, but we're doing everything we can to get there. Talking about some of the skills that we're looking at, some of the challenges. So if we come into the Earth observation sector specifically, normally we hire engineers, scientists, physicists, and geographers. But we're also now looking at the integration of digital technologies. We've heard a lot about that, the digital agenda. But this is not just Earth observation specific. This is coming across all the sectors. What is also new is expertise related to the economic sector, so the ability to evaluate the commercial value of a company. For the Earth observation sector, you'll be thinking of the Incubed program there, where we give zero equity funding, but also access to ESA expertise. There are other programs that we do this across ESA. But the traditional engineering roles still remain important, and they will continue to do so, I would say, for the foreseeable future and beyond. We still need structures engineers, we still need mechanical engineers to build the satellites in order to give the data back to scientists and society. And just to highlight a couple of areas where we are facing some challenges is optical engineers and instrument engineers. This is specific to Earth observation. And then a couple of things that ESA is doing, just very briefly. The ESA Academy started in 2016. Approximately 2,000 students per year have access to ESA Academy programs, but this implies that they've already started on the STEM track. So ESERO, the European Space Education Resource Office, which is present in 20 of the ESA member states, it reached 1.8 million students in 2022 and trained 60,000 teachers in 2022. So this is where I see the funnel coming into STEM, which I think is so critical, as a good starting point. And it's one of the things, I mean, the Commission is doing a lot of work, USPA is doing a lot of work, so it's all coming together, and hopefully it will meet some of these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very well done perspective. Leandros, you are on the recruitment side. Your job is indeed to recruit people for agencies, but also for companies. I think that Airbus is one of your customers. So how do you see this challenge for recruiting the right skills, fulfilling the demand? Do you see specific evolution in this sector? What's your view on it?
Yes, thank you. I think I will agree with the ladies that just preceded me, and I think the element that I would like to add is that the space market is quite a niche one, meaning that we spoke already about shortage of people. It's difficult to get new people, new blood in, and at the same time, most of our customers require quite highly technical profiles. Already Lucy mentioned about masters, plus some kind of experience. This increasing also demand that is coming with new jobs, there is quite an influx, let's say, of jobs, especially, for example, in Earth observation, since we are in Expandeo. All these kind of factors have kind of created a difficulty in finding the right profile, addressing the right profiles, or sending the right profiles to the customers, to our customers. Additionally, I would like also to touch upon what social-economic facts have been in place recently. So we discussed already about the recent pandemic, the Ukrainian-Russian war, which is a situation happening now, the energy crisis, the high inflation. This has created quite, I would say, an unstable economic environment, in the sense of candidates are becoming a bit more conservative when they want to take the next step in their career, or when they have to reskill, or when they have to upskill. And especially if we take into consideration that in the space sector, with limited resources, they have to relocate, they have to make a change, relocate across borders. That creates a quite complex, I would say, situation in recruitment, finding candidates, and trying to actually find qualifying candidates. Another element that I would like to add as a last part is that, since we are talking about Earth observation, and the recent demand is that we have, or not demand, a problem that we have, a situation, a challenge, is that the emphasis is becoming more and more getting into the programming and software development or dealing with software development, the data processing and data harmonization. So this kind of programming background is quite more and more required. So it's not just, candidates should not just understand the remote sensing and the Earth observation, let's say, science behind the processes, but also it's equally important that they will be able to deal with a lot of software tools in order to harmonize data, process data, and manage data in general. This kind of, let's say, combination made extremely difficult into, spotting the right candidate and try to kind of convince them to go for the next step, go for one of our customers in order to, supporting different Earth observation and other space projects.
Thank you very much. Indeed, perhaps with respect to this motivation or aspiration for people to come and work with us, meaning specifically in the downstream sector, perhaps we should be a bit more active in explaining what are the usage of the Earth observation downstream sector, because, and here I'm speaking with experience, the young people are also looking for the sense for their implication in their job, and from what we have seen during the day, it's obvious that Earth observation, and particularly in the applications of Earth observation, there are some elements which could fit with their aspiration, and that's something perhaps we have to insist on more broadly and perhaps also in the university and in the academic sectors. Just perhaps another question, because we have a bit of time, another question to you, Sonia, with respect to the pact, concerning the regional dimension of this pact. Could you explain how your action at the European level can be followed, or can embrace as well action at more local level in the member states, and how does that fit together?
In fact, as I was explaining before, in the Pact for Skills, we already have 18 large-scale partnerships that are being run mostly by industry stakeholders at the European level. And in the aerospace and defense ecosystem, we already have 2 large-scale partnerships. So one focusing specifically on aerospace and defense, and then the large-scale partnership that Mavi mentioned on space data services and applications. Of course, at the Commission, we are aware that, number one, we don't possess all the knowledge. So this is why we have established these partnerships with industry stakeholders and with other stakeholders, because industry is key but they are not the only ones with a stake in skills. So our large-scale partnerships, they are operating with all stakeholders that have a say in upskilling and reskilling. But of course, we are aware that nothing gets done if it's not done at the national and at the regional level. If we remain in Brussels talking to each other, things will not get done. So this is why, in the framework of the Pact, we are providing information on, for instance, all the tools that already exist at the EU level. For instance, one very important tool is, of course, financing. You are aware that at the level of the European Commission, there is quite an array of funds that are focusing on skills, and in particular the European Social Fund and the Recovery and Resilience Facility, amongst others. But these need to be implemented at the local level and the regional level. And here we are working together with regional authorities, but also authorities, for instance, municipalities, where we know that there is a given industry that would benefit from engaging in upskilling and reskilling initiatives, and together with these large-scale partnerships that we have at the European level, and the regional and local partnerships that we are forming in the Pact, we very much hope that we will be able to change the figures that I presented to you at the start of my presentation, that are indeed quite worrying. And of course, this is something that takes time, and it takes really mobilization and cooperation of stakeholders at all levels. And in this regard, national and regional stakeholders also, I must underline, from in cross-border, in a cross-border dimension, because we are rather inclusive in the work that we do. We are not focusing only on regions, on selected member states. We are also focusing, for instance, on work that could span, from regions in several member states, provided that the industry that they are working with is the same. And we would be, of course, also developing and try to develop this regional dimension within the two large-scale partnerships that we have in the aerospace and defense ecosystem.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think that we had the challenge of trying to recover a bit time for the following EU Café. I think that we made it. But please, if you have any other idea or other point you wanted to address, please do.
Just one remark on what you were saying on the fact that it's important to attract the new workforce, attracting young people. And of course, space is within the broader aerospace and defense ecosystem, industrial ecosystem, at least how we have we have defined them in the industrial strategy. And speaking to my colleagues working in the defense sector, one of the biggest challenges is to attract a new workforce, because they don't want to have to work for a sector that has no contribution on what are the main drivers of the younger generation, for example, the climate cause. So, and many, but nonetheless, many of the biggest companies, the biggest stakeholders, operate in the three sectors: aeronautics, space, and defense. Therefore, I think we have an advantage to attract a workforce within the ecosystem, the cluster, the aerospace and defense, because we can always leverage and use the cause of you're working in the space sector that contributes to, for example, the climate cause, or monitoring the climate change and the solution to attract, workforce within the ecosystem, and then potentially in the future this could also benefit the defense sector. But that's what I wanted to say. I give the floor to.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Don't tell it too much to our defense colleagues.
I feel that here tonight I'm speaking to the converted. You guys are already working in the Earth observation sector. You understand the benefits that this can bring to society. We don't need to convince you, but I do feel we need to convince the younger generations to really seriously take a look at their options. Too many people don't go into STEM because either they don't think they can do maths, or they don't understand what it can bring, or they're actively discouraged by the people around them. In my last round of interviews, in my previous job, 2 candidates, when I asked them at the start of the interview, what is your greatest achievement? They both started crying. Okay, this was 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Not what you want from a nice icebreaker HR, put them at their ease question. They were both girls, by the way, and they both said, our greatest achievement, my greatest achievement is being interviewed by ESA today. My environment has tried to stop me. My family, my friends, my schools have all said to me, you don't want to be an engineer, you want to be a hairdresser. You're a girl, you don't want to be an engineer. And that really got to me. I feel 40 years ago, maybe that's something, but this was 2020. This should not be happening today. People should be allowed to have the options to follow their passions. If you want to be a hairdresser, I will support you with everything I can do. But if you want to be an engineer, I will do the same.
Absolutely right. Leonard?
Yeah, I just can't agree more on what Lucy just said. I just wanted to just go back, given the time as well, to discuss a bit about the, what we discussed about skills and upskilling and reskilling. And I think this is also a nice opportunity to, raise awareness. I think we're not yet there where we should be, and having this kind of instances of discussing about the transition, the skills that we need, the needs that the market has, actually will benefit all of us from a transversal, let's say, approach. And actually, the more and more that we raise the awareness, the better the results will get at the end.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much to all, and let's hope that among the young children we have seen visiting the museum, some of them will be in our place in the future, whilst on our side will be in the dinosaur gallery somewhere. Thank you very much, and good night.